Hello everyone, today I will be turning this rock into a cat. The reason I'm painting this rock today is so that we can use it as a doorstop for the cats. If you don't have cats, you might not have this problem, but ours tend to scratch at the carpet or kind of just bang themselves against the doors when they want back in. I didn't particularly like the paint I was using here. It was a new paint to me. It's the Apple Barrel paints, and it just wasn't doing its thing right on this rock. For some reason, part of it was drying before the other, so it was just dragging, creating this clumpy texture that, to be honest, nobody ever wants in their work. So I ended up having to smear it all off to try and get the texture as smooth as possible again. Once that was all smooth and good to go and dry, I decided to go in with the paint I always use, which is the Liquitex Heavy Body Paint, and that provided no problems whatsoever. It went on really thick, it covered a lot of area, and it had a great texture and dried fairly quickly. So here you can see me being very OCD about the coverage and spending way too much time for a base coat. That doesn't really matter because in the end it was covered with a different color and with many layers of detail work and whatnot, so enjoy my process that wasn't very necessary. So once that was dry and ready to be manipulated and poked at, I attempted to sketch out what I would be doing. I'm not much of a planner when it comes to painting. I usually go in and just start painting with paint, so this step didn't really last that long. As you can see here, I tried with the charcoal pencil and then I said forget it and went in with paint to do a very crude outline of a cat sleeping. This step was really just about mapping out where the cat would be. I wanted him to take up the majority of the space. It is a rock that kind of looks like the shape of what a cat in a sleeping position is, so I knew that most of it would be gray and covered. I just wanted to center the image. Alright, here's the most basic layer that I'll use for the shadows and highlights. Right now I'm going in with a lighter gray to mark where the most obvious highlights will be, so like the top of the head, the top of the leg, parts of different pieces that will be sticking out more logically and creates more of a 3D shape than just a flat two-dimensional painting. And here I am going in with a darker gray to note where any shadows will be. So ideally anywhere where a highlight was, I want to do a shadow on the opposite end. So things like the top of the head got a highlight, the bottom of the chin will get a shadow. Top of the leg got a highlight, bottom of the leg will get a shadow, and so on. During this process of painting, there's really a lot of steps that you'll hate before you end up getting something like. Right now it looks very chunky and doesn't really take shape. You can kind of see where things are supposed to be, but it's really hard to see this and be like, yeah, I'm doing a good job. So I know a lot of people who ask me for painting advice go through the same steps, and the best advice is just keep with it, keep playing with it until you get something you like. Paint can cover up and it has many layers before it even starts to look good. Now that the basic highlights and shadows have been mapped out and we can really see that the cat is taking form, this is where I'll go in and fine-tune those shadows and highlights and create more of a smooth transition between the two with midtones. This will help create a more realistic looking fur because, you know, most cats aren't wiry, they're very soft. My cat, personally, he feels like a bunny, so we want to make sure that this cat also looks like it has soft fur. The start of this highlight layer is really where the face starts to take form. And it's really the first time that I'll look at it and be like, yeah, this can be something. I like this. So as you can see, when I add little things like the bridge of his nose with some white paint or some really light gray paint, it really pops forward the face to kind of show that his face is on top of his body and that it's closer to the light rather than his tail being in the back that he's laying on. Things like this really create the illusion that it's not just a flat painting. Alrighty, it looks like I'm pretty much done with the shadows and highlights right now. As you can see, I didn't really add much from the last time we spoke, but right now my main finishing thing to do is to just clean up the edges. I am a very messy painter. As I said before, I'm not much of a planner and I'm not much of a stay in the line kind of person either, apparently. So a large chunk of finishing up a painting is just getting those lines crisp and undoing all the things where I've gone over. It's a time-consuming process that I do not enjoy. Here's another unnecessary step that didn't really pan out anyways because nothing was sticking. But here's more highlights and lowlights done with a black micron, or at least attempted to do with a black micron, and a white paint pen. So now that I've finished adding needless details and ruining some bits that were perfectly fine, I am finished painting this rock into a cat. Overall, I liked how this turned out. Of course, there are things that I would change, but I'll let you decide what areas that will be so it keeps the mystery alive. If you would like to see me paint anything else in the future or would like any particular videos, feel free to leave a comment telling me. I have a lot of time on my hands and I would like to do more videos for you guys. I guess that means that all I have left to say is thanks for watching and goodbye.